This video will contain early cartoon illustrations depicting highly vulgar racial stereotypes. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey everybody, this is TJR. Last week, Dr. Seuss Enterprises willingly removed 6 books from publication. I want to discuss the recent media coverage and reaction to this announcement since it was made. Now, I know I don't normally discuss these topics on this channel, and I'm referring to the topic of cancel culture, political correctness, whatever favorite buzzword you want to use for it. But lately, there have been so many stories on this topic in the news that I found myself thinking that I wanted to discuss this topic in a broader sense at first. But then I found myself writing a huge video essay on the topic. So I decided instead that if I do talk about this, which I'm going to do today, that it's best to focus on just a separate incident in and of itself, because I find that oftentimes there is always just so much nuance to these stories that most news outlets, commentators, YouTube vloggers, they don't want to confront that nuance or discuss it, no matter what side of the political spectrum they are coming from. And this is because they are in the business of generating clicks, generating likes, views, but mostly advertising dollars. And dollars are the main reason. And that's a separate topic of discussion unto itself. I will circle back to it, though, however. But this particular story involving Dr. Seuss seems to have just gotten so quickly out of control that I felt the need to say something. So this began last week with a statement released by Dr. Seuss Enterprises, which controls the publication of Doctor Who's publishing legacy. And I want to read from the statement. This is from March 2nd, 2021. Today, on Dr. Seuss's birthday, Dr. Seuss Enterprises celebrates reading and also our mission of supporting all children and families with messages of hope, inspiration, inclusion, and friendship. We are committed to action. To that end, Dr. Seuss Enterprises, working with a panel of experts, including educators, reviewed our catalog of titles and made the decision last year to cease publication and licensing of the following titles. And to think I saw it on Mulberry Street, If I Ran the Zoo, McElligot's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Egg Super, and The Cat's Quizzer. These books portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong. Ceasing sales of these books is only part of our commitment and our broader plan to ensure Dr. Seuss Enterprises catalog represents and supports all communities and families. That's it. There was no public outcry demanding that these books be pulled from the publishing schedule. There were no cancel culture warriors crying out for this. This was a business decision by Dr. Seuss Enterprises. They consulted with some educational experts and made a business decision. They decided that these books were not bad for people, but bad for their brand. And a publishing business like Dr. Seuss Enterprises has the right to decide what they will and won't publish. And yet, segments of the internet still kind of lost their minds over this. Glenn Beck called it fascism on his show.
This is fascism. You don't destroy books.
It's not fascism. It's a business decision. Now, was it the right decision? I think no, but I'll talk about that more in just a little bit. First, I want to show this meme that I've been seeing. Now, Michelle Obama has absolutely nothing to do with any decisions made by Dr. Seuss Enterprises. And yet, to look at this meme, if you are uninformed, you could interpret it to mean that she had everything to do with it. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic, on this same Facebook post where I found this meme, someone had commented, and I quote, "Someone needs to cancel her." So yeah, People read their own meanings into these things. Now, both this and Glenn Beck's outrage are examples of creating a boogeyman where none exists. Why? Well, because outrage sells. They are banning books. They are banning Dr. Seuss. Now, please help me fight them by buying my books, donating to my Patreon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
They are banning Dr. Seuss books.
He never tells you who they are, because the truth is that there is no they. It was a corporate decision. When you use words like they, you, the viewer, can project whatever boogeyman you want. Last year, HBO Max temporarily pulled Gone with the Wind from their service, stating that it would be returned shortly. And as a result, there were equal cries of how dare they, and it's about damn time, from various polarizing sides of the aisle. But the outrage was pointless since HBO reinstated the film, as they said they would all along, but reinstated it with an introduction explaining the film's place within America's history of slavery and racism. Dr. Theodore Geisel, aka Dr. Seuss, like most people, and certainly most creative individuals, was a complicated human being. He was considered to be very liberal, and he drew cartoons promoting anti-bigotry messages. And yet, he also did advertising illustrations that featured very ugly racial stereotypes as well. And in his later life, he has gone on record that he was not proud of this particular aspect of his work, stating it was a different time then. We did things differently then, and that he himself made changes and edits to some of his books for this reason. Now, I could do a whole video on extreme depictions of racial stereotypes in vintage cartoons and comics from the first half of the 20th century. But for now, I think I will just quote from the disclaimer that is run on every Looney Tunes DVD and Blu-ray collection that I have ever purchased. The cartoons you are about to see are a product of their time. They may depict some of the ethnic and racial prejudices that were commonplace in the US society. These depictions were wrong then, and they are wrong today. While the following does not represent the Warner Brothers view of today's society, these cartoons are being presented as they were originally created, because to do otherwise would be the same as claiming that these prejudices never existed. I don't think that Dr. Seuss Enterprises needed to stop publishing these 6 books. I think they just need to print a disclaimer at the beginning of the book that is similar in message to what Warner Brothers published on their Looney Tunes collections. These books are a product of the attitudes of their time. Actress Whoopi Goldberg, whom I don't know, for some reason, a lot of people want to paint her into this whole politically correct, left side of things, has been advocating for some time now that Walt Disney needs to release Song of the South. She has stated, don't hide the past, release it with some historical context and use it to start a conversation. And I think, again, this is what Dr. Seuss Enterprises should have done. In the end, however, I also think that cool heads will eventually prevail. I think that eventually Dr. Seuss Enterprises will reinstate these books and make them available again, but with a disclaimer that recognizes that our attitudes about how we portray different races and cultures has changed, and then let parents decide if they want to read these books to their children. And honestly, I think that 90% of the majority of conflict that arises over this topic can be resolved in the best way possible by doing this. We can't hide from the past, but we can learn from it if we allow ourselves to learn from it. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours. Please leave a comment. As always, if you like what I do here, be sure to click like, click subscribe, and smash that bell notification icon. Yes, I'm trying to do the same thing that everybody else is doing on the internet. Yes, I am trying to get those likes. I'm trying to get those subscribes, and definitely want to earn the advertising dollars. But hopefully I do it in a way that does not embrace outrage or does not try to encourage it. Do you know, one of the best ways you can control and manipulate people is when they're angry. That's when they're the easiest to manipulate. Anyways, also I have a Patreon. There's a link down below if you'd like to make a donation. Thank you very much, but you don't have to. I want to thank everybody so much for watching. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.
Here are some outtakes.
And, you know, after he talked about the fascism thing in the books, he then went on a tirade about Amazon changing their app logo because I guess it looked a little bit like Hitler smiling. And, you know, again, this is just a business decision. I mean, if I was running Amazon, I would say, yeah, you know, it's better to change that than leave it the way it is because it could be misinterpreted. And quite frankly, we don't need that kind of grief when we're running a business. It's not that important to keep it the way it is. Just change it. I think it's a much easier, simpler answer. And by the way, this isn't a Let's Pounce on Glenn Beck video. He's not the only one who does this. I mean, this is all over TV. It's all over internet, and not just on political commentators. I mean, I see this in all manner and genre of videos.